Hello, friends, farmers, gardeners, and smallholders. Welcome to our Saturday night live stream at Brimwood Farm. And I hope you're having a great evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining. As always, if you are watching on the replay, please hit the bell notification next to the subscribe button because you'll just get notified every time I go live. It's normally 10 p.m. GMT on a Saturday evening. But if you hit that bell notification, obviously you will be told when I'm going to go live. So hopefully we'll have Liz Zora in with us tonight. She'll be moderating our chat, just making sure none of the trolls get in. And as normal, we'll just do a little update on the week that was. And actually, I didn't live stream last week, so maybe the past couple of weeks we'll just do a bit of an update, catch you guys up with what's going on here. And then we'll just go into our normal Q&A. If you do have any questions, please try and write them in capitals just because we tend to get quite a few people and it scrolls past really quickly. And if you put it in capitals, it's more likely to stand out of the screen at me so I can find your question and attempt to answer it. And I've just realised I haven't put my phone on Do Not Disturb, so bear with me a moment. There we go. We are off Do Not Disturb, so we can carry on as normal. So the week that was, it has been hectic. So firstly, I need to update you kind of with work. Work was supposed to be a 2-day-a-week job. It's turned into a 4-day, 40-plus hour day. It was supposed to be a 2-day, a 2-day-a-week job. It's turned into a 4-day, 40-plus hours job. Not that I'm complaining, it keeps me busy, but it just means life is really, really hectic. I have been doing a lot of stuff here as well at Brimwood Farm. And as you saw, we went up to the farmland last week. So we actually went up last Saturday and I managed to get a vlog out the same day. It was very late that evening because, crikey, it took a long time to edit together and then upload to YouTube, but you did see hopefully on that farm vlog what was going on. So that's the first time we've been up to the farm this year in 2018. I always get a bit nervous every time I go up because I'm never quite sure what's going to have happened while I've been away, because obviously although I own the land, we have a caretaker of it, a tenant farmer who is doing all of his cows and things like that, but it's basically a free-for-all, so we don't know what's going on up there, so I'm always a little bit nervous. But everything was fine. Everything is coming to lush growth. We identified that deer, which I'm so thankful for. So we knew there were 2 types of deer, and I knew there was a muntjac. There was another deer species on the farm. We weren't sure what it was. We never got a long enough look at it to ID it. This time we didn't think there were any deer at all. And we went to the wildflower meadow. And all of a sudden, out the corner of my eye, I noticed Bo crouch, and her ears went back, and then she shot off. And she flushed a deer out of the hedgerow and it ran down. So not the ideal wildlife spotting occasion, but because she chased it, we managed to get a good look at its rear, and it was this big white sort of heart shape, and that is a roe deer. So we now know that we've got roe deer and we've got muntjac deer up there, which is really, really good. I've added it to the biodiversity list for Brimwood Farm, and I will actually link that below so you can pop across and look at the biodiversity list that we've got for the farm so far. One of my Patreons did actually mention that it's great to see it, but obviously more deer means more problems potentially in the future when it comes to vegetable growing, and that's quite right. There will be more problems. We'll just have to take care with more fencing and things like that. But I would rather work with nature and encourage wildlife on and have to find ways to work alongside it rather than just eradicate nature and have all my pristine veg. I'd rather have all the lovely animals around and work with it that way. So we did that farm vlog. And then there was the small holding diaries, and then obviously I included some of the farm vlog on this Friday, so yesterday's video, which was the pond restoration. And I'm thrilled how that is coming along. It's a big pond. There's a lot to do, but it's coming on all right. So we've done bramble clearing, we've done some of the tree felling. If you watched the video, you'll have noticed that the tree felling kind of had to stop because a moorhen or a coot had made a nest in the middle of those felled trees that had fallen into the pond. There are actually 7 eggs in there, so I can't take that out until those eggs have hatched, and then they've swum away, and then I can haul that out, and that won't be a problem. So probably we'll be doing that sometime in May. We've got the first few plants into the pond, and it's really, really exciting to see how it's all coming together. So that's kind of an update on the farm. The rest of my list says chicks and ducklings. So I've got loads of chicks and ducklings here at the moment. At the corner of my ear, you can probably hear some chicks and some ducklings. The ducklings are just starting to go past their little chirpy, quacky stage to make proper adult quacks. They're still in the house because I've got nowhere to go for them outside. We take them outside every day to go into the paddling pool. So there's 3 of those. There's currently 8 chicks. So I've got 8 chicks that hatched in an incubator. I've got 6 chicks with one of the broody silkies. One of my other broody silkie hatched out 8 chicks a couple of days ago, and my cream leg bars are due to hatch tomorrow, perhaps. They're in lockdown, so I think it's tomorrow or Monday, and they are actually one of the Brimwood Farm community members, Alana. She hatched out a cockerel last year called Sunny, and they are Sunny's babies. So I've had them from work, so I've bred Sunny with the cream leg bars at work. So we've got those cream leg bar chicks to hatch as well. So that's all happening. There's tons of chicks here, and we've got a couple more hatches this year and then we're done. So we've got these cream leg bars to hatch, and then we've got a couple of pheasant and guinea fowl to hatch, and then we're going to do our chick check with the Poland chicks this year. So I've been collecting Poland eggs, and we're going to do chick check on those because we're not entirely sure what they're going to look like. So I thought that'd be fun for us to follow that progress through. So that's the chicks and the ducks. Chicken check-in. We have got a really good chicken check-in coming for you this week. I was thrilled when I watched it. Again, it's from one of our members of this group. So it's from Alyssa from Moat Cottage over in Australia. She has sent in a fantastic chicken check-in. It was going to be up this Wednesday, but we had some issues getting the file sent across. So it will be up next Wednesday. So that'll be another chicken check-in. So make sure you check that out. And if you want to get involved, then you can still get involved. It's an ongoing series. So all you need to have is some chickens that you want to put the focus on. Go and look at the rest of the playlist. I'll put that up here so you can go and take a look, and then just follow that playlist through and you'll get the idea of what I'm looking for. But essentially it's a chance for you to show off your chickens, and for me and all you watchers to just be really, really nosy, which is always fun, isn't it? And other people's small holdings. And in fact, I got to be really nosy today as well, because today I actually went on a 4-hour round trip up to Coventry to pick up a pheasant. So we've got that one pheasant, Eve, and we went on a round trip up there to pick up a male pheasant. And it was nice because we actually got to look on somebody else's small holding, have a quick look round. Lovely. I mean, beautiful place. It's very similar to here. She had aviaries with diamond doves and canaries and things in. She had her pheasants. They got sheep. They got donkeys and stuff. So it was really, really nice to have a good old nose. So more about that a little bit later. So I think that's kind of an update of where we are currently and what's been happening here. So I think I did see Liz scroll past, and so we'll kind of move into the chat. I hope you've got a cup of tea. I definitely have. I need it. I'm still feeling a little bit off colour. I think part of it is the fact that I've just been working and not had any time to kind of have a lazy day. So it's hanging on, this cold, but I do feel a lot better. So we'll move into kind of the chat and the questions. Now, I did see that somebody got in very early. So Wasay got in very early with a question early on. And Wasay said, we have foxes come and go in our garden. My husband is worried whatever we do for the chickens' safety, it wouldn't be good enough. Please give some advice. So this is a difficult one because anybody that's been following this channel will know that I've had my fair share of fox problems, and we still have a fox. When we got Eve, so Eve is our Reeves pheasant, for the first 4 nights, every single night the fox came and tried to get into the aviary. I have begun leaving the chickens out in their coop. So as you know, just after Christmas, the fox actually gnawed through the lid of a nesting box, on a wooden nesting box on a coop, and took the chickens outside. I refreshed that lid and put on a brand new one, and I've been nervous to put the chickens back out because the first night I did put the chickens back out and left them overnight, the fox tried to get in again. However, I just can't be bringing in chickens in and out every single night, so I've left them out, and so far the fox has left them. One of my egg customers also said the other day when she visited on Wednesday that there is a dead fox on the road just down there. So I'm wondering whether perhaps our Mr. Fox that comes into our garden has been, is a hit and run and has been squashed on the road, which it's bad for me to think, yeah, wahey, but also I am thinking, haha, but it might be not be that. So in terms of keeping your chickens safe, it's just a case of realizing that at some point you're going to lose a chicken to a fox because they are canny and they are wily and they didn't get those characteristics for no reason. Um, they will come back over and over and over and over and over again until the one time you forget to do something or the one time you miss a gap, they will be there and they will take advantage of it. That's the only problem. So I would just leave those. So you can carry it. So just make sure you keep watching your coops and you keep making sure everything's fine. If you don't want a free range, the main thing is if you've got a proper coop and you shut them in there at night and you've got a run that they can't dig under, you're probably safe. The problem is if you want to free range them and you're not there. One of the reasons I'm getting guinea fowl is so that I can let my chickens out when I'm here, and the guinea fowl will make a raucous, they'll make a big sound, and hopefully I will hear and be able to dash down the garden and get there before the fox. Before the fox kills anything. And at night, I'm not too worried about how they can get in because generally the chickens are all safe at night when they're shut up in their coops. So I would just say make sure your coop is really, really secure. Make sure the smallest hole, the smallest problem with the latch is dealt with ASAP because the fox will take advantage. There's lots of things you can try. They say leave a radio on quietly because the fox don't like the sounds of humans. So like on a chat channel, so radio, BBC 4 or something. Human pee is supposed to be another good one. Now I have tried that a little bit. I just think our urban foxes are so used to the smell of humans that human pee does not put them off at all. I heard another one about mirrors hanging, human hair in socks or tights hanging around because it's a human scent. But again, I'm not sure whether that works so well in an urban environment where foxes are very used to humans. But I did hear another one about mirrors in the fact that a fox will come along and see its reflection, and because they're not intelligent enough to realise that that's actually them, they'll turn around and leave because they'll think they're on somebody else's territory. So there's a few pointers. I can see a lot of you are giving advice as well, which is really, really good. So hopefully you can pick up some tips, I say, from everybody's ideas on here. But the problem is foxes are just perpetual nuisances. Beautiful creatures, but they're always going to be there and they're always going to be trying to get your chickens. And even if you have security animals, it doesn't always work. My friend has alpacas. She moved them out the field for one night in with her lambs to protect the lambs from the foxes, and that was the one night the fox came. So it just goes to show that the foxes are going to be there all the time waiting for the one occasion when they can come in and snatch and run. But hopefully you're doing it right because you're taking precautions and you're getting in early before anything bad has happened. So right, so let's see who's here tonight. So Robert is here, Anna is here, Gareth Hopper, PO666100, Wolfbloods, hello. Peter is here tonight. Peter, I'll just scroll back to your message in a minute, your question. Allotment Life, so Brian is here, hello. Liz is in. Ross, hello. Lewis, Richard, Liz, Susie. Lots of guys in tonight. Hi, Sandra. Sandra's here as well. So hello and welcome to our Saturday Night Live chat. Now let me just scroll down and find Peter's question. So Peter says, I want to get 2 silky chickens and I was wondering how much space they will need. How big does my yard need to be? Can chickens be indoor chickens? I wouldn't necessarily suggest having indoor chickens just because they get really, really smelly, and if chickens don't get enough ventilation, it can cause all sorts of respiratory issues. So I mean, if you've got maybe an attached kind of lean-to or something like that, and you're just getting a couple of bantams or things, you could keep them in a large rabbit cage or hutch or something inside. But they will get smelly, and they do need sort of some space to scratch around. So it's often a good idea to still have somewhere outside you can put them. I mean, if you get silky Brantons, so silkies come in two forms. They come in a true large fowl form, and they also come in a bantam form. If you get the bantam form, which is what I have, they don't need a vast amount of space. But what I say with chickens is the more space, the better. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get away from any form of kind of battery chicken, because that's obviously not what I agree with, not what I promote. So we want to give them as much space as possible. So if you look online and you look at kind of the coops that are available for chickens, they'll often give you a guide on how many chickens you can keep in. Now, I often find those guides are too small. So if you look online, for example, it says you can keep 6 chickens comfortably in that coop. Round it down to 2, or round it down to 4. If it says 6 to 8, you're probably okay on maybe 5 or 6. So I would go online, have a look at different coops, and see what they're suggesting, and then see whether you can fit something into your garden. If not, and I said this before, if you can't get chickens, then you can always try quail, because they're a lot easier and a lot smaller. I'm just scrolling through your messages again. Oh, I don't. Anna saw the Scotland video. It was really nice. It was amazing that day. It was super cold, but it was great. Dan is in. Hi Dan, welcome to our chat. Gareth says, anyone have any rare breeds of any sort? Any particular easy to care for and any to avoid? Well, sadly, I don't have any rare breeds anymore because I have my rare breed Ixworth and the fox came and got them. I would highly recommend them, especially if you're looking for a dual purpose bird, because they lay loads of great eggs, and they gain weight quite quickly, and so they're a good meat bird too. So they're a really nice rare breed. I don't know if anybody else has got any good breeds. Richard says, what other animals will get on with chickens? So I find chickens in general to be kind of a solitary animal just because they're vicious. Chickens are little dinosaurs. And I have noticed this, especially since having pheasants and having the pheasants in my aviary as opposed to having the quail or the chickens in the aviary. The pheasants are quite happy to be around all the little finches, all the little canaries, the diamond doves. They don't blink an eyelid. The chickens and the quails would do everything in their hardest to eat those birds. Not necessarily the adults, but the chicks. If the babies were fluttering around, they'd try and eat them. So generally, I would keep chickens on their own. If you've got a massive small holding or you've got a farm or something, then of course go ahead and do this kind of rotational grazing that many people do, where they have cows and sheep on pasture and then they move them into the next pasture and then they move the chickens on to do the poo and stuff. But if you're in a smaller backyard, I would just keep chickens on their own, because you will inevitably discover problems trying to keep things together. Now, saying that, I'm going to probably be keeping guinea fowl and chickens together, and guinea fowl are really great in terms of keeping ticks and worms and fleas and stuff like that down. So they're quite good and they can hold their own. In terms of mixing chickens and waterfowl, so like chickens and ducks, you can do it, but when we had the DEFRA lockdown a couple of years ago, they actually wanted your chickens and your ducks to be locked down separately, because waterfowl were much more prone to the avian flu than the chickens were. And so if you decide to mix chickens and ducks together and then we get another lockdown, then you've got that complication to think about, whether have you got the means to split them and keep them separate and abide by those rules when they're in place. So I would always have just advised keeping chickens on their own and keeping the same size chickens on their own as well, because although I do mix bantams and large fowl, they get on fairly well because they're a smaller flock. But if I had too many of one, so say I had all large fowl and one bantam, they would pick mercilessly on that bantam. So yeah, I would always kind of keep chickens on their own, having gained experience from it. So PA66600 says, when would you put chicks outside in the current climate? My chicks are 4 weeks old and must be bored stiff in their brooder. You can start acclimatizing them. I normally start acclimatizing my chicks as soon as they've lost the down and they've got kind of a full covering of feathers. On a warm day, you can put them out, and then you can bring them back into the brooder. What I tend to do, because I've got my growers shed, I tend to put my chicks into there, so they don't go into an outside coop. They tend to go into the growers shed, where it's relatively warm and they're protected from wind and rain, and they can stay dry. And then I'll check on particularly cold nights, especially when they're first put out. I will go down and check when it's got dark and everybody's gone to bed and roosted. I'll go down and I'll just pick them up, because if you pick them up and they're shivering, obviously they need to come inside. But chickens are relatively hardy, but like plants needing acclimatizing, so do chicks when they're being moved outside. So chicks are fairly fine, and I think our temperatures now would probably be all right. Although this coming week, I know it's supposed to drop again down to, I think, highs of 8 and lows of around 5, and that's in the southeast. So I would, they're hardier than you might think, but I would acclimatise them gradually. Maybe if you've got like an outside space, again, put them out in the day, bring them back into the brooder, or like me, if you've got like a lean-to or a conservatory, put them in the conservatory first and sort of gradually wean them off the heat in the brooder to being outside, if you understand what I mean. Andy Pandy says, "Hi, I've got plenty of room. Ideas on making money with turkeys." Well, I mean, the obvious thing is Christmas turkeys, but I think turkey eggs are also becoming increasingly popular. And I was watching a show a couple of weeks ago where somebody I think she kept 200 turkeys, and none of them were used for meat. They were all laying hens, and she sold turkey eggs. So that works as well. Or go down the rare breeds route. So get some rare breed turkeys in, or a breeding flock of a very specific niche of turkey, and sell hatching eggs and sell poults. So that's another idea you could use for turkeys. Liz says, if Gareth watches your chicken check-in videos, he'll see lots of rare breeds. That's true. So if you watch the chicken check-in playlist, we've got people from all over the world, and quite a lot of them do keep some of the rarer breed chickens as well. So there's some nice chickens to look at on there. And there's something for everyone as well, because I've got bantams. Duck Ponds Farm over in Australia had some Malays and some Indian game, which are completely different ends of the spectrum to bantams. So it's definitely worth giving them a look. Dan says, we're almost finished with lambing now. We've got 16. We're still expecting 2 to 5 ewes to lamb. That's so cool that you're still going. We've just finished at work, so we had 2 ewes that held on for ages. I don't know what happened there. One ended up having triplets and one ended up having a single. All were alive and fine, which was marvellous. So I hope your final ewes go really, really well. Sandra said, watched Secret Lives of Chickens on YouTube, discovered one of my expats as a rooster. Gosh, it happens, but they can change gender. Yes, they can. Yes. Just like frogs. And yeah, they can. Nature has this funny way. Nature finds a way. In the words of Jeff Goldblum, nature finds a way. Anna says, how are the ducks doing, Jeff? The ducks are doing really, really well. They are quacking just over there. They have realised that Sard and I are the bringers of food and water, and so they start making a racket when they run out of either one, even though they've just eaten or they've just had a drink and now their bath or their food bowl is empty. They start to make a hullabaloo and they call us. So they were I think they started when Sard got up to go to work this morning at 4 a.m. They started calling, and they settled down when I didn't appear, and then this morning they made a great old racket. But they're growing really, really quickly. They are the sweetest things. They have just gone to bed, otherwise I would go and get one to show you. But they make such a big noise, I don't want to disturb them. If they wake up during the proceeding of this live stream, I'll go and grab one and show you. Peter says, Wolfblood's, well, Wolfblood's just put some question marks. So Wolfblood, if you have a question, please let me know, because I must have missed it. So ask it again if that was what that was about. Peter says, how do chickens get along with dogs? What dogs won't hurt chickens? I think it's really down to the individual. My dogs, you would think being staffs, might be aggressive and might be against the chickens, but no, they are complete softies. Neither has ever attempted to pick up a chicken or pick up a chick. And in fact, the other day, Sard got home from work before me, came into the living room, and Bo was sat on the chair with kind of a like look on her face, because every single quail chick had jumped out of the box and was running around the floor. So she was just surrounded in chicks, and she was just kind of sat on the chair with a look of, I didn't do it, it wasn't me. Um, so she's completely fine. But then obviously other dogs might be chicken crazy. Our best friend has huskies. They jumped the fence before and killed his neighbour's chickens. So it's all down to the individual dog. So you've really got to judge how they're going to get along. It's like everything. When we first got our dogs, Beetle was a bit crazy about cats. And so we had to do a really slow and long introduction with them to make sure they got on. And then, sometimes a dog is just not gonna like chickens. I've got a couple of dogs that I look after, and one of them is a Labrador, and I do not trust him near the chickens at all. He wouldn't aggressively try and kill them, but he would try and pick them up in his mouth. And in fact, he did do that with one of the quail, and he accidentally killed it. But just because he's a gun dog, he's a retriever. So I would just judge it with the dog. If you've already got a dog, maybe find somebody that's got chickens, see how the dog is around them, and just judge it and take it very slowly as well. Sandra said, my staff is brilliant with chickens and helps get them into the coop at night. Yeah, mine too. Although I think she only wants to get into the coop at night because she wants to eat chicken poo. PO666 says 100 says, thanks Jeff, great answer. That's all right. I'll just try and answer as best I can. Tiny Farm Enormous Heart is here. Hello, welcome to our chat tonight. Life finds a way. Love Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, I know. Love Jurassic Park. Love it. Went to watch it on the other day on Netflix, and they'd taken them all off. I wanted to watch the new one, but they'd taken it off, which was really, really annoying. Lovebug1234 says my hen crows like a roo. Yeah, mine. Well, I've got a couple that do. So I've got Miracle, my little Barber Danvers. She crows like a rooster, but she still lays eggs. So she hasn't gone through any kind of hormonal change. She's still definitely a female, but she does crow like a rooster. But my eldest chicken, and the chicken I actually moved here with, I had one single buff Nankin chicken when I moved here, and she was about 7, and she had gone through the change. So I don't know whether she'd stopped laying eggs for many, many years. So I guess you could say she'd gone through kind of the menstrual cycle and stopped laying. And her female hormones must have stopped or whatever. But she hadn't become a male, but she crowed like crazy. And it was just kind of funny. And I liked having this funny little chicken. And then somebody came along and stole her. So that was that. Brian says, my granddad had a foxhound and all it was interested in was grabbing rats. That's a good thing, isn't it? I mean, I wish that my cat would grab mice like it's supposed to, but it doesn't. And the one time Bo grabbed a rat, it squeaked and she dropped it. But then as my sister has guinea pigs, I decided actually it's probably a good idea not to train Bo to pick up and kill small furry things. Susie St. James says, have you ordered your cup warmer yet? No, I haven't. I keep forgetting. As I say, I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance. So I haven't actually ordered that cup warmer. Although this is staying fairly warm tonight, which is quite nice. I've still got this stupid nail look. I like sort of stoneware, and this is a really nice Denby cup. I haven't taken the label off. It's a modern Denby, but I love a bit of glazed stoneware, so this is fairly new. It holds a lot of tea, but I've also found it holds the heat really well, which is great. Going to keep drinking tonight to stay refreshed, otherwise I start to go a bit dry-throated. Lovebug says she also mounted other chickens before they are mating. I guess she's at the top of the pecking order. She probably is, Andy Pandy says, I have 3 Indian runner ducks at 2 weeks old. They're on chick crumb, but what will they go on next and when? Thanks. Hatch rate was 9 from 11 eggs, but sold 6. That's a really good hatch rate. Mine was terrible. 3 from 10, which wasn't very good at all. So mine is still on chick crumb. And then I have never raised ducks before, so Liz Zorab might have an answer for you. I was going to treat them the same way as chickens and graduate them onto growers, and then look up some duck feed, probably give them a bit of a general mix, some fermented grains and stuff like that. But currently, mine are still on chick crumb. Peter says, so this is in relation to the dog. Says, thank you so much. I don't already have a dog. My last one passed away. He was a real softie, bless him. But I was just wondering for when, if I get another dog down the future. I would say it depends again. So this is just a continuation of what we said before. If you get a puppy, you probably won't have any issues because you can train your puppy from the word go. If you already have chickens, obviously if you get a rescue, it's but if if you got a young dog, you would then be able to train it to be okay with chickens. I found that with Beetle, she's now fine with cats here. If we go anywhere else and she sees cats, she goes mental. But she knows that here cats are friends. So you can often sort of train them to do that as well. Robert Dean says, have you dispatched your egg eater yet? I haven't, and here's why. Because I have found her a new home. So at work, we do kind of a racing event with chickens in May and June and across the summer. And so rather than dispatch her, she's going to go there and she's going to be a racing chicken. So she's going to have a new lease of life, and it won't matter if she eats any eggs. So she's got, yeah, I've managed to extend her life and find her a good home. The other funny thing is, since she's definitely the egg eater because since she's been gone, the eggs have just gone whoop. But she has also started laying herself and not eating her eggs. So I don't really know what was going on there. I don't know whether being around other chickens was making her go a bit crazy, but yeah, so she laid. She hasn't laid for a while, which is understandable because obviously she was removed from the coop and put into a poultry crate. She's settled into that poultry crate now and she is laying. So she's laid an egg for a couple of days and she hasn't eaten them. So that's bizarre as well. But no, so I'm not dispatching her now. I found a home for her, which is really, really good. Buddy Mojo says, how do you know when the barley is ready to give to your chickens when you put it in water? So I leave it 3 days. You can normally tell if you pick up some of the old barley that you haven't started to ferment yet, and you can hold them side by side. You can clearly see which one has swollen up and started to ferment. So I normally leave it, yeah, as I say, 3 days, and then I start feeding it. Sometimes I don't even leave it that long because ultimately they could eat barley when it's dry. We're just going through the fermentation process to bring out all the natural goodness and add a bit of bacteria, good probiotic and stuff from the fermentation process. So you could give it to them on day 1 or day 2. Ultimately, you want to give it to them when it's properly fermented. But yeah, just shove it in a bucket, keep whisking it for every few days, and then start at day 3, and then keep topping up. That's what I do. It's worked out really, really well. Joanne is here. Welcome, Joanne. And she says, is your plan for Brimwood Farm on course? When do you think you will begin building? I'm so excited. Right, so I haven't got news for you. Nothing big news like that. But I'm just excited because we're getting close. Because it seemed so far away, that we were never going to get there. And now we should start the process next year. So in fact, we're going to try and start the process this year in terms of getting the architect, getting planning permission approved, because we're trying to get planning permission for an agricultural site, so that may take a couple of years. So we need to start that ASAP. But the plan is still on course. From next summer, we should be over the first major hurdle with the whole visa thing. That will then free us up to actually sell this place. So even if we don't have planning permission, or we haven't built the house yet, or we can't get on the farm yet, next summer we should be able to actually up sticks and move, and we just move closer, whether that's in a rented property or something like that. And then if we're closer, we can actually start getting livestock on the land. What are you animals doing? Sorry, the cat. Well, you can see the cat's just there. And the dogs are going a bit crazy. So we are, yes, Joanna, we are on course, and it's all very exciting. And I can't wait for the day when I can log in and say to you guys, we're doing it. But yeah, we're getting there. Tiny Farm Enormous Heart says, any suggestions for chickens with mites or lice? Besides DE and Ashes, my poor rooster has it. He has mites. He has mice. That would be weird, isn't it? He has mites or lice. What do I use? So I tried the DE route. Didn't work really. And one of my roosters, I put loads of DE on, and now he has a perpetual cough. And I think actually when he shook off all the DE, he swallowed some of that dust. And it's spiky. It's made to pop the membranes of lice and mites. So it's sharp, even though it's tiny, and it's a dust proof, so it doesn't affect us. But to those tiny things, so you can imagine what it does to the lining of your throat or your lungs. And so he now has a constant like hic because I think it's got into his lungs a bit. So I, in fact, have found that the only really good thing was ivermectin, and I had to use an ivermectin solution to kill them off. Obviously, they have access to regular dust bathing, and I think that helps keeps it down. But yeah, I found, fortunately, I hate to go down the whole chemical route, but that was the only way, the only true method that I found worked. Just because you can try all the organic stuff, you can try all the herbal stuff, you can try the DE, but I don't know whether it's that effective. It might be effective for prevention, but it might not. I found it's not very effective at actually curing once you've got that issue already. Oakfield Farm is here. Hello, welcome to our chat tonight. Anna says, saw a curry plant at the garden centre the other day and all different types of mint. Can I actually use the curry plant in my curries? I don't know. I'm not a cook at all. Sard will tell you. I'm assuming the curry plant is the silver one that you're talking of. It's got beautiful silvery foliage and then the yellow flowers. I think it's called the curry plant because it smells like curry. I don't know whether you can actually use it or whether it's edible. Maybe somebody down here knows. If you do know, please answer and let us know because I'd be interested too. Nola, hello Nola. So Nola's coming in from Australia. She says, hi all, awake and got tea now. Good, I'll join you with a good old slurp. What are you animals doing? I've got a crick in my neck as well because I think I pulled it last night. Emily is here. Hello Emily, welcome tonight. And so Liz, this is in response to what to feed ducklings. So she says, move them on to growers gradually at 6 to 8 weeks. So there we go. So we're on the right track. So ducks, we'll move them on to the growers and then we'll see where we are. Ross has a question. He says, had a brainwave. Grass seed is really cheap. I'm going to sprout it and feed it to the chickens and the rabbit. Can you think of any issues? No. I think that's a very good idea. Yeah, that's a very good idea. And I mean, any sprouted seed is really good. Grass is really good. The only reason I don't give mine grass is because you really shouldn't cut your lawn and then feed the clippings to your chickens. You might think it's really, really good, but if you think of it, when grass is growing, it's attached to soil. And so as they peck, they're pecking off little bits, right? So they're breaking it down naturally before they're swallowing it. If you mow your grass and then you throw your grass clippings in, there's no resistance to the stuff they're eating. And what I found to my detriment was they then just eat the entire blades of grass. It sits in their crop, it ferments and goes gunky and horrible, and they get all sorts of issues. And I had a couple of roosters that continually did that, and every week I was having to basically make them sick and get all this horribleness out of their crops until I realised, and I think actually it was Liz that told me, don't do that. Make sure you're not doing that because this is why. But grass seed, sprouted grass seed, I can't see any reason why you could not do that. That actually sounds like a really, really good way of giving them greens and giving them a nice little nutrient boost as well with that tiny little grass seed shell still attached to it. Robert says, okay, great, glad you can give her a new chance in life. Yeah, me too. It'll be, I don't like killing any animal for no reason. And especially, she's an egg eater and she's annoying in this situation. But if I can find her a new situation where she can be a happy hen, then that's great. Nola Williams says, tried fermented barley and they looked at me like I was mad. Did they not like it? I am surprised. Mine love it. Every time I go down now, and especially because I give mine in a flower pot. So whenever my chickens see me carrying a flower pot, they go mental because they know it's coming. Thanks, Joanne. So Joanne said, "Ari the farm." That's great news. I know. I'm very excited. And we're just back on the DE topic. So Sandra says DE does even warn humans to wear a mask when using it. It does. And I think I used one called Smite, and it has that warning on it. And then Liz says, DE, yes, we have one bird with a constant wheeze. She's had it for over a year and it's non-responsive to antibiotics. She sleeps on her own because she snores so much. Yeah, and I think again, it's this the Smite. It gets into their respiratory system and causes some issues, and then they end up having sort of wheezes and lesions and things. Tiny Farm Enormous Heart says, thank you. He is a silky rooster and is bothering very much, and I agree. I don't like you to use drugs at all. We used to get the dust powder here in Canada, but not allowed anymore. Oh, that's interesting. They just allowed it. It is very annoying when you get mites and lice and trying to get rid of them. It can be very frustrating. Mr. and Mrs. Pullman are here. So they said, "Oh, glad you said about the grass cuttings. As I've given them grass cuttings after cutting the grass, I'll stop that then." Yeah, it isn't always a mega issue, especially if you're doing a shortcut and the pieces are little, but they can overindulge, and you don't want to encourage crop problems. And I used to give a big mound to my chickens, and it was only one or two chickens that would get this problem. But it's probably best to not do that, and you can shove them on the compost heap instead, where they'll help enrich and heat up the compost heap and make it really, really nice muck heap. So that's often a better use for them. Thank you, Liz. So Liz says 22 watching and only 14 thumbs up. Thank you, everybody. Now, well, there's 16 now, so that's all good. We all seem fairly happy tonight. There's a lot of us in. It's really good. I can't wait to show you guys the new pheasant. He's really pretty. We filmed him coming out of the box. I thought he was going to shoot out of the box like a crazy thing, and he just sat there, and he didn't want to come out at all. And then knowing what had happened to work, I was thinking maybe our hen, so Eve, was going to be a bit sort of territorial with him. But they were both just standing out there earlier, letting the birds flit around them, eating some fermented seed and some lettuce from down the garden. Quite happy. So I can't wait to show you guys. Yes, so he's called, so Buddy Mojo, so Mandy says, have you named him? Yes, he's called Adam. So they're Sard's really, because Sard wants to start obviously Sard wants to do his falconry at the farm, but he also wants to start the ornamental pheasantry. And so because they are the first pheasants we have, and they're going to kind of hopefully be the forebearers of the entire little business, he's called them Adam and Eve, which I think is quite apt. So I'm hoping that Adam is going to do his thing and we will have some babies. But Sard has already bought a couple of monal hatching eggs as well. So monals are another type of pheasant, Himalayan monals, very beautiful birds. So he's got 2 hatching eggs. Now the hatching eggs are quite expensive, and he managed to get these on a complete whim. To buy pairs, you're looking at hundreds of pounds. So we bought some hatching eggs. We've only got 2, and they're coming in the post as well. So I don't have high hopes of hatching either of them, but it's just something else to hatch, isn't it? So when they arrive, they're going to be going into the incubator with some guinea fowl eggs. So I've got my alarm system for the bottom of the garden. What my neighbour's going to think, I don't know, but I think sometimes, and I've said this before, I think sometimes people with noise only get annoyed by noises they recognise. So, for instance, a cockerel crowing often has a more damning effect with neighbours than maybe a louder noise of something they don't actually know what it is. So, for instance, the pheasants, when the pheasants call, I would say they're louder than the cockerels. But because they are an unrecognisable sound, people kind of just hear it and then let it go. Whereas with a cockerel noise, people know it's a cockerel, and then they start to get aggravated. So I've completely lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? I have no idea what we were talking about. But anyway, yes. I don't know how I got onto that. Uh, right, let's just move on. So Tiny Farm in Almost Heart says, any more issues with the fox at the Silky Coop? No more issues thus far. And as I said earlier, I have now started to leave the Silky girls out at night. So obviously, when I say leave out, I'm not leaving them out in an open run. They have an open run and they have their shut away coop bit. But I've been brave enough to just leave them in the coop bit overnight, and we've not had any more attempted break-ins through the actual wood from the fox. So fingers crossed, it's left it. But also, as I also said earlier, there is a roadkill fox down the road. So I'm kind of hoping it might have been the fox that came into the garden, because actually it happened about a couple of weeks ago and I haven't seen the fox since. So I'm really hoping that my fox problem might have been dealt with. So we'll see. But so far, so good. 19 thumbs up. Thank you, everybody. It's really kind. Sandra says, I got a fright yesterday. Thought a swarm of bees was overhead. It was one of those drones. We get so many of those drones around here as well, and they're really annoying. Mandy says, you've not told your neighbours then? No. Oh yeah, guinea fowl. That's what we're talking about. Guinea fowl. Yeah. So guinea fowl. I haven't told my neighbours about the guinea fowl. I wasn't going to get guinea fowl because I'd been told they're so loud. Then I started working at this place and they have guinea fowl and they're not that loud. Compared with my roosters, they're not that loud. So I've just thought, oh, I'm just going to get some. And if they do get too loud, I'll have to sell them or move them into work. I think we've only got boys at work, so if I have some hens, I can move the hens to work. So I'm just going to get them and see what happens. If nobody complains, doesn't matter, does it? Peter says, for acquiring chickens, what would you say the best method is? Day-old chickens, incubating eggs, pullets. It kind of depends what you want to do with them, Peter, to be honest. If you just want them as egg layers for yourself and you've got kind of no breeding plans or anything like that, I would probably go with point of lay hens. Buy some point of lay hens from somebody. Now the reason I don't buy any chickens in anymore is because I've got my established flocks and I've got my flocks of pure breed chickens that I collect the eggs from, I hatch out, I sell, and so obviously I don't want to bring any disease in. So that's why I don't bring any chickens in. But if you're just buying a batch of, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 hens all in one go to be just egg layers for yourself, then I would just buy point of lay. You can buy chicks, yes, but unless you're buying a sexed variant, which means when they hatch, you can tell what's a girl and what's a boy. Unless you're buying those in, you may have the issue of cockerels. And obviously, if you hatch out and you incubate your own eggs, then you almost certainly will have the issue of cockerels. So you'll have to be aware that you're either going to need to try and get rid of them and rehome them possibly, keep them, or cull them. So as I say, if you just want to get hens for egg laying purposes, I'd go out and find somebody that's laying point of lay. I would stay away from auctions and I would stay away from sort of Gumtree and Pre-Loves and places like that, and I would find a local breeder, a small business. There's chicken people all over the country that have small little businesses where they sell lots of different chicken types. So I'd find somebody like that that's local to you and get something along those lines. I wouldn't necessarily, and we've had this conversation before, I wouldn't necessarily recommend getting expats, especially if you're new to chicken keeping, because expats do come with all manner of problems. It's good that you're rehoming them, but you often lose a high percentage fairly early on through stress. So unless you're experienced with chickens, I would stay away. We've got an escaped quail, it's just flown out of the box. I'd probably stay away from expats. So I'd go down the point of lay route. Jack says, just a random question, do you skin or pluck your quail? I skin, because for the amount of meat you've got, it doesn't make sense time-wise to pluck, because it would just take too long. So we cut the heads off and skin them. Liz says, we had eggs due to hatch tomorrow, Monday too. They were in the incubator and now I've popped all of them under broody hens. That's great. So I was talking to Liz earlier, and Liz was saying a few of the eggs that she was due to pop under broody hens had started to pip already. So I'm glad that you managed to shove them all under some hens ASAP. Brian says, I live by Man City ground, Sandra. They set the drone up in the early hours of the morning last week. The locals thought it was a UFO because it kept changing from green to red. That's funny. They are funny. And Tiny Farm Enormous Heart says, wild birds are louder than backyard poultry. They are sometimes. We have a massive flock of starlings here that flies overhead and lands in the trees. When they are all going off at one go, they are way louder than the cockerel. But do they get told off? Do people moan about those? Nah. They just moan about chickens, which is very annoying. So Mr. and Mrs. Pullman says, any advice to entertain a lonely rooster? All my girls have gone broody and he looks so lonely. Bless him. Can't wait for more chicks though. Crikey, you've got a madhouse then if all your girls have gone broody and that poor old rooster. Well, I just leave him to it, to be honest, because think, soon he's going to be dealing with loads of mummy hens who are going to be uber protective of their chicks, and then he's definitely going to want to run off and be by himself. Oh, bless him. I would just maybe give him some enrichment. Jokes aside, just give him some enrichment, some extra greens and stuff, maybe some food blocks to peck up, hang up some kale stalks on string so he's got something to peck at. But he should be fine. He's probably just having some time off, to be honest. Kat is here. Hello, Kat. Kat's one of my patrons, so welcome to our chat tonight. She says, I'm at work and my colleague has been chatting to me all through this so far. We'll have to catch up later. That's all right, no problem at all. Peter says, are you saying pointed laid? I'm still getting used to the terminology. No, so it's point of lay. So they're sold normally about 9 months. So they're on that tip from teenage hen to adult hen when they're going to start laying eggs. So point of lay. Wasai says, we are worried about foxes that visit our garden all the time. So how can we have safety for the chickens when we're going to put them? So we talked about this subject earlier because I know you got in really early on our chat, Wasai, and you put a question right up front. So my main kind of idea was, because you haven't got your chickens yet, the foxes are probably going to get that smell and going to come around immediately. Get a good coop, line it with mesh. I think a lot of people think, oh, it'd be great to have a coop that you can roll around the garden and you can move and put it on new grass every day. But unless you've got a massive garden, that doesn't generally work because you just move it around your lawn and gradually your lawn just falls apart and goes disgusting. So it's best, in my opinion, to have a static coop. And if you're having a static coop, you can mesh line it. So you can buy a coop, put it down, and then mesh line it. So when I say mesh line, I mean literally put mesh underneath it and then the coop on top. So even if a fox tries to dig under, they can't actually get in. Then you can do other things. So there are other ways to protect your coop from foxes. Deterrence, so they say that human hair in tights hung around puts foxes off. Human pee puts foxes off. Leaving a radio playing on a not necessarily a music channel, but a chat channel like BBC 4 or something like that. Then obviously the foxes hear the sound of humans, and that puts them off. And then I think I also mentioned mirrors. So mirrors isn't a human thing. It's more about if a fox comes into your garden and sees a reflection of itself in the mirror, they're not intelligent enough to realise that that's their reflection. And so they think it's somebody else's territory, so they turn off and go. So I would try all of those things. Prevention is way better than cure. And just keep on top of it, because foxes are wily and they will keep coming and they will wait for any opportunity of you not going down the garden early enough to shut the chickens up, or a catch getting missed. So just be really vigilant in making sure your coop remains fox proof at all times, because otherwise the fox will take advantage. But other than that, there's quail chicks running all over the living room. Why wouldn't you stay in? Silly things. But yeah, so other than that, just stay vigilant and enjoy having chickens, because that's what it's all about. Sandra says, my first lot of expats still have great girls. That's good. That's very good news. This new lot, 3 fertilities on 1 rooster. Yeah, it can be really hit or miss. My first 4, I had 3 for over a year and only lost 1. My second 4, as you know, I lost 2 really, really quickly. But the 2 that have now survived, so I got them last July, so I've had them almost a year. They're great now. Those girls are completely fine. It seems to be those first few months. If you can get your expats through the first few months, they tend to be fine. But there is kind of a quite high fertility rate with expats when they get rehomed. Robert is saying yes. So he's saying point of lay, you'll normally find them as POL. So they'll be advertised as POL hens. Nola says, one of my 3 chicks is a boy, beautiful, and holding on to it for a while before I take back because he's part of the family. Came with a return guarantee. Oh, if he's beautiful, hold on to him as long as possible. I love roosters. And sometimes you find that some roosters aren't that loud. So, maybe you can keep him. Because I've got some good roosters and I've got some bad roosters in terms of noise. Obviously, we all know Barry. Barry is naughty. Barry is loud. But I must say at night, Barry is really, really good. So Brewster and Barry are excellent at night. They go in their boxes, they don't crow at all. Brewster, on the other hand, so Brewster is the chick from Chick Check last year that I ended up keeping. He doesn't crow that much in the daytime, but boy oh boy, he likes to crow in the middle of the night. And so he's just got, even though he's in his blackout box, he crows around 4 a.m. and then he crows around 6 a.m. and he does it every single night, and I can't stop it. But yes, maybe your little rooster boy will be okay, and then you can keep him. Tiny Farm Enormous Heart says, nice being here for a little bit tonight, but I've got to go now. Feed my chickens for the night. Love your videos. I watch you all the time. Good night. Good night to you, and thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And Wasay says, thanks very much. We'll do whatever best we can. That's all you can do when it comes to livestock. You just have to do the best you can and treat them the best you can and protect them the best you can. There are always going to be problems. At some point in the chicken keeper's life, you're going to lose birds to a fox. But we can just protect them. We are their protectors. So we just have to do the best we can. Liz says, I think this is on Brewster, do you think you can hear trains in the night? Possibly. We're also really, really close to the Thames. So when it's foggy or rainy, the tug boats and the big freighter boats that come up and down the river also sound their horns. So I think they wake him up as well. But I quite like that sound. And actually, I quite like the sound of a train rustling by the distance. Because actually up at the farm, we're quite close to a railway line there. So you can always hear trains just rumbling in the distance. So for me, it's quite nostalgic, so I quite like it. Anna says, are you doing tomatoes this year? I am, but I have forgotten about them and they're out this long and they're really leggy. So tomorrow I'm going to have to do some mega potting up. So I've got 4 types. I've got Alicante, I've got a beefsteak, I've got garnet, and then I've got a little yellow patio variety. I've germinated all of the seeds now, but I just need to pop them all on and get them growing, which is tomorrow's job, because today was totally crazy and I didn't get a chance to do anything, but yeah, tomorrow's job. Buddy Mojo says, I hatched a Japanese Bantam, tiny, but boy, when he started to grow, he was like a leghorn. He had to go. I know, and this is the thing. Some of the smaller chickens are way louder than the bigger chickens. You just never know with a rooster how they're going to be. Sandra says, can hear your quail. I love the little noises. I'm just going to go and get that little one and show you because it's running around the living room. Oh, there's 2 out. Where are you going? Come here. So these little guys hatched over Easter. Oh, can't get much hair. So they hatched at Easter. So we've got 1 little quailie, 2 little quailies. So you can see actually this one has still got the yellow on his face. So that's the last bit of fluff to go, is the yellow on their face. It's completely white otherwise, but the yellow on its face is still there, isn't it? And you can see his little ear, which is very cute. And this one's just chilling out. These two get out every single morning, so I come down every single morning and they're there, running around. Are you going to sleep now? Now I'm holding you. Do you just want to be held? Very cute. I'm going to put them back, but hi guys, say good night. Good night. They're so funny how their little feet just stick out. Night everyone. So I basically have just a massive cardboard box in my living room at the moment. It hasn't got a lid. It's about that tall, just filled with shavings, but obviously quail tend to fly up and over, so they do that constantly. But they're very cute. Do. Liz, so back on my leggy tomatoes, Liz says, you did that last year and promised yourself not to neglect them. And I've done exactly the same thing again because I just haven't got round to it. It's terrible, isn't it? But luckily, tomatoes are really great in terms of burying them deep. So I can put them on, I can really bury them deep, and all of that stem will create new roots. So unlike some seedlings, whereas you can prick them out and put them on, and you can still bury the stem, but the stem doesn't actually grow roots. It just kind of sits in the soil and becomes a thick stem. With tomatoes, they actually grow roots, and so it actually makes a nicer, sturdier plant. So I'll definitely be doing that tomorrow. Brian says, if your tomatoes are leggy, you might have to cut them back to a lower leaf joint and keep a side shoot as a leader. Yeah, that's true as well. I think these ones will be savable because they have got quite a bit of stem, but they haven't actually got much extra leaf joint. It's kind of, they've still got a stem and then one lot of leaves at the top. They're salvageable, I think, and they'll be all right. I'm sure they'll be all right. So Nola says, back neighbour just built a granny flat at the back fence, so not likely. So this is in regards to keeping the rooster. Council laws prohibit roosters. Maybe my rooster can change sex to a girl. I live in hope. Oh, that's annoying. I hate council laws. But it depends. Maybe your neighbour and their granny flat won't mind a rooster. And they won't mention it. You never know. He might be really quiet. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. Anna says, oh my goodness, they're so cute. And Sandra says, too cute. They are mega cute. Chris, I've been wondering what you did to your poor finger. I know, look, it's still here. It's much better. It is much, much, much better. So this I did maybe even 6 weeks ago now. And we were at work and we were ear tagging piglets because our piglets were due to, well, I say piglets, they're more like wieners. They're quite big. They were going off site to a new farm, so we needed to ear tag them. Now, this is not an ear tag wound or a pig bite wound. I caught it between two metal hurdles. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, did it hurt. Absolutely caned. It's fine now, doesn't hurt at all. And it's not actually the nail that's damaged, it's the nail bed underneath. So most of that blackness is actually blood from the nail bed. And as the nail is growing out, I've been able to kind of get underneath it and pull some of that old blood out. Because obviously with the nail on top, there's nowhere for the scab to kind of fall off. So it is totally fine now. But crikey, that hurt. And also, you know, I don't know why, fingers always seem to hurt more. So extremities always seem to hurt more than wounds anywhere else. And it was also during that really cold patch. So there's nothing like really hurting your fingers on a really cold day, just to aggravate it. And at the time I felt sick, and then that night I literally lay in bed, and at one point I was almost crying in pain because it hurt so much. But yes, thank you, Chris, for showing some compassion. But my finger's all right now, so thank you. But yes, it was very ouch. So what are everybody's plans for tomorrow? I've got to do quite a lot outside. I have a visitor coming, hopefully, to get some quail. You know who you are, and I know you are watching. So hopefully we'll meet up tomorrow, and some of the quail will go. I've obviously got this hatch that's happening, so hopefully some of my cream leg bars will start to come out, and I'm going to be doing loads of potting up, some pricking out, and I'm going to try and do some direct sowing as well. Although the temperatures on Monday look like they're going to dip, so but hopefully the soil should stay warm enough for me to still put some seeds out. Um, Nola says, my neighbour just got a beehive, so I need to plant some more flowering plants to encourage them into my garden. Fantastic. That sounds like a wonderful weekend job. Very nice. Uh, Chris is saying, glad it still doesn't hurt. Yes, it doesn't, so thank you. Susie's patching up a drip line. Brian up at first light and down the allotment. Sounds like a good plan to me. My body clock has really adjusted now. You know, I used to be a wake up at 9 o'clock kind of person, but now I have to get up at 6:45 to go to work. I now automatically woke up at 6:15 ish, and I'm finding I get so much more done. I have turned into the fall asleep on the couch and by 9 o'clock kind of person as well. But I do quite like being up earlier on. It's very productive. So it's nice to hear that you'll be down the allotment at first light. Liz is planting out seedlings, staring at broody hens. Good job. Waiting to see little heads pop through wing feathers. Sowing seeds. Fantastic. Mr. and Mrs. Pullman say, I've got 7 eggs to candle from under a broody. Yeah, well, I do wish you luck. I hope you aren't pecked to death. Some broodies are all right, but some are obviously a complete menace. Robert says going up to a Woolacombe in North Devon to do some surf kayaking. That sounds fun. Really nice. Now I can't surf and I can't kayak, but that does sound really, really nice. And in Devon, North Devon. I don't think I've ever been to North Devon. That sounds very, very nice. And Brian has got lots of material to video. Great. So we can see that on your YouTube channel soon, I hope. So it sounds like everybody has got loads to do tomorrow, which will be fun. The weather is supposed to be terrible, but you know, that's Britain for you. So we'll see. And then I've also, obviously, I've got to make up my small holding diaries video as well for tomorrow. And I can show you fun things like new chicks and Adam, the pheasant. So that'll be good. Chris says, I'll be cleaning the chicken house and watering greenhouse plants. Perfect. I've got some chicken house clearing to do. And I need to collect some rainwater for those beautiful carnivorous plants you sent me, which are doing really, really well. And several of them have also produced, so the 2 rooted cuttings have produced more little, I want to say flutes, but they're not flutes, you know, catchers, little pitchers. And the one that hadn't actually rooted yet has, I think, started to root because it has started to produce more foliage. So I need to remember to go and get some more rainwater for those. Anna says she's got my daughter coming around, so doing her a curry goat rice and peas. Oh yeah, curry goat. I haven't had that in years. Used to have a curry goat when I worked in. Used to work for London Probation, and I used to work in Stratford, Newham, and there was an amazing African restaurant just by where I worked, and they used to have curry goat in there all the time. It was so delicious. They used to make it so good. Liz says our weather is looking good for the next week. That's really good. Our weather here is not looking great, but hopefully it improves. Buddy Mojo planting out flowers. Just a heads up, Aldi has a pack of 4 geraniums for 169. That's really good. I might have to go down and grab some. Robin Knight says, what do you do with seedlings that have gone leggy from being on the windowsill? I tend to try and resuscitate them by pricking them out as quickly as possible and planting them deep. As I was saying, some seedlings and some plants will actually sprout roots from the stems, so things like tomatoes. Others you can prick out and shove into the compost and bury the stem, and the stem won't necessarily sprout more roots, but it will mean that your little seedling just sits on top of the compost, and the stem kind of curls around underneath and doesn't rot away. My advice with leggy seedlings is just to try it, because otherwise you're going to have a really floppy plant with the roots down here, massive stem, and then your harvest up here. So in my personal opinion, it's better prick out, bury the stem. If the stem rots and the plant dies, you wouldn't have ended up with a good plant anyway. So I would prick them out, plant them deep, and then possibly throw a few more seeds in and get them started just in case the first batch get lost. But I bury the stem in my personal opinion. It's kind of worked out quite well for me like that. Sandra says never eating goat. I fancy that. It's really yummy. Really, really nice. Brian says just have backup plans in case. Exactly. So that's with the forecast, but also with seeds, leggy seedlings. Have a backup plan. Susie says, did you brush your fruit tree flowers? I didn't because I have loads of plums. I'm very excited. So this year, obviously, they did get fertilised. So I've got tons of tiny little green plums starting. The apple blossom is about a week behind. So I'm yet to see whether the apples have been fertilised, but the plums, most of them have been. So I'm really excited to see fruit on those cordon trees for the first time. Brian says the brassicas respond okay to burying deeper. Yes, so brassicas, so things like kale and cabbages and things like that, you can really bury the stem and they're fine. I was always a little bit wary of burying the stem, even with things like, you know, spinach and herbs and stuff. But I thought, you know, if I'm going to shove it into the soil, then surely if I put the stem underneath the soil, it's going to rot. So I was wary. Then I watched Charles Dowding's YouTube. Charles Dowding has an excellent YouTube, and he was just burying everything. So I followed his lead, and I started burying everything, and it works. It really does most of the time. Sometimes they will rot, but that's generally because your soil is too wet anyway. So yeah, I tend to just bury stuff. I've got two snoring dogs next to me. I might show you actually. Can I move this? It's typical, isn't it? As soon as you move the camera to try and catch them snoring and they're dreaming and moving around, they stop. But yeah, they're completely blotto. As I will be soon, because what's the time? 11 already. Right, guys, so I am probably going to go to bed. Susie, yeah, it does look like it's going to be very, very hot. Crikey, that is very, very hot. Yeah, I like a kind of a mid-heat. Anna says, do you have an address for mail, a PO box? I don't have a PO box. I do have a mail. I think you're in our Brimwood Farm community group, aren't you? So maybe we'll get in touch on Facebook and I can send it to you there. Robin says, a few of my hen laid eggs in my broody duck's nest. Will she raise the chicks and ducklings? That I don't know. It depends. The thing is, they've got different incubation times. So your chicks are going to hatch before your ducks hatch. So I would be tempted. It depends if you want your ducklings. I don't know whether when the chicks hatch, your mama duck would get off and leave with those chicks or whether she'd stay with the ducks. So if you want just the ducks, I would be tempted to take the chicken eggs out because I'd be worried that she might abandon those duck eggs before they're out. But yes, so I'm going to say goodnight because I'm knackered from having to drive all the way to Coventry. I still haven't got the roosters in either, so I'm going to go and get the roosters in and put everything to bed and go to bed myself. But thank you so much for stopping in on our chat tonight. I've missed you guys because I wasn't here last week, and it's always a pleasure catching up with everybody on a Saturday night. Because, you know, I don't go partying, I just hang out with you. So I will see you all again next week, hopefully. Next week? Yeah, I should be around next week. Watch out for Small Holding Dies tomorrow because obviously you'll get a chance to see that new pheasant cockerel we've got. There will be a chicken check-in this week. Again, please watch. It's from Melissa Moat Cottage in Australia. It's really great. It's a really fun chicken check-in, so look out for that. And then obviously we'll have the regular Friday video next week. So good night to everybody here, to Robert, to Buddy Mojo, Mr. and Mrs. Pullman, Sandra, Brian, Susie, Nola, whose Sunday has just started because Nola is over in Oz. Thanks to Liz for all the moderation tonight, and I will see you again soon. Bye, guys.